Hello out there, and what I have for you today is a video I'm extremely excited to be making because this is the just released Spyderco Ouroboros. I've been looking forward to getting this knife since it was announced at SHOT Show. It is finally in my hands. I've had it for about a day and a half. I've carried it once, and I'm giving you my initial impressions and just a brief overview about what this knife is all about. Alright, so again, it is called the Ouroboros. If you are not familiar with the term and the name, I'll roll in the Spyderco mid-year guide so you can see the spelling. The word Ouroboros describes the snake that eats its own tail from Greek mythology. It has also really been popular in American political cartoons from the 1700s and 1800s. So if you look at the knife, just the general design and the aesthetics, you can maybe see that snake right here, and when you close the knife, eats its own tail. I don't know, maybe it's a stretch, but I think it works. I think it's a clever name and definitely a very clever design. And one big thing that is the takeaway from this knife, every aspect of this knife, it is a niche knife. It is going to be one that you either really love and have to have, or it's going to be one that you just don't understand and don't want to spend any time on. And I mean, that is true in a lot of aspects, starting with the name and just the overall look. My opinion, it is gorgeous. I love this. I love how unique it is. The first time I saw it, I knew I had to have it. I knew I had to make it happen and get this knife. So that was my initial impression when I first saw it, and just the look of it, it definitely works for me in hand. Okay, but this is the collector's number 90. So I got this from the same collector that I got the Sage 5 from. So nice uniformity there for my collection. But for you, I'm going to try to get every nook and cranny, every close-up that I can, just so you can get a really good idea of what this knife is all about. And starting with the specs, we have a 2.44 inch cutting edge here of VG10 blade steel. So this is made in Seki City, Japan. All right. We'll get into, what the applications are for this, and what the carry option is when we talk about the ergonomics. But, moving on back, we see the compression lock, which I've talked a lot about lately with the Sage 5. This lock is extremely smooth, but it's not quite dropping down yet. I don't think it's completely broken in, but it's really smooth. The lockup has been perfect, left to right, up and down, no issues whatsoever. All right, and again, for a lightweight EDC, you don't want to see any kind of blade play because you're not going to be able to use this for really heavy tasks anyway. All right, we've got some great medium traction G10 handle scales, really good and grippy. You can hear that right there, but not too aggressive that it's going to cut up any pockets. So excellent there. And then looking inside the knife, we have some inset liners that are built into the G10, and there's some milling on them, which cuts the lightweight of this knife even further. This knife is listed at 2.6 ounces, and let's bring out the lie detector. It actually comes in at 2.63, so right on point. And what I will say about the weight is that, you'll have a 3-ounce knife sometimes that feels like it's a lot heavier than 3, and sometimes it'll feel a lot lighter than 3. This knife feels even lighter than the 2.6 ounces it comes in at. Okay, you can see just the slim design when it's closed. It's just very compact, and it is pretty slim in width here, but just the fact that it carries really deeply with this pocket clip, it makes the weight just absolutely disappear. But more about the pocket clip, it is this loop over wire clip, so relatively deep carry. A little bit of real estate here, but there is that lanyard hole that should help get it out of the pocket for you if that's something that interests you. Okay, one other thing about the physical characteristics of the knife, there is this metal backspacer here. The only fit and finish issue I've seen with the entire knife is that, if I can focus on this, you can't really see it, but you can see where it is, that this backspacer is just a little bit sharp right there. Excuse the cut on my thumb. I know it's a little gross, but life happens, can't really help it. All right, so that's most of the physical characteristics of the knife that I want to talk about. So how does it carry ergonomically? Well, it's another niche thing. The big takeaway. It's all about what your preference is, because this knife, for the people who love it, it's going to be perfect. You've got this wonderful choil and finger guard here, and you can see even with my small to medium hands, there's plenty of space for a larger finger to fit in here. And then your other 3 fingers just fold right over the handle, and it is perfectly comfortable. I mean, it's wonderful. And you can see at the bottom here, even if you did have larger hands, you should be able to fit all your fingers on this knife. All right, so it would really be a matter of preference whether or not you like the carry, but it would all fit. Some people with larger hands just might not like a knife of this size to begin with. All right, one thing you might have noticed is no jimping. No problem. No jimping, no problem with this knife. I mean, the jimping might be overkill if they had it, because it comes in so snug that, your thumb just sits right there naturally. You don't need to worry about it. It's not going anywhere. It's locked in, So the one detractor about the Ergonomics is there's not a lot of options in terms of how you carry the knife. This is really about it. You can sort of come back a little bit and hold it like that so you're not fully choked up. But apart from that, that's sort of where you're stuck. All right, so you have this really nice control, but if that's not something you're looking for, then you might have some issues. When I first got the knife, I tried to do some cutting holding it like this because I had plenty of space at the bottom and it was still comfortable in hand. But the choil is just gonna suck up any media that you might be cutting, cardboard, paper. It all got caught there and it snagged. So it really didn't work out for me. The only real way that I thought was realistic was holding it like this. Okay, so that might be something that's awesome for you, it might not be. It's just one of those things. You're gonna have to make that call. So with that in mind, what is this knife for? Who is this knife for? Well, it's an EDC knife. It's a lightweight EDC knife. It's definitely going to get the job done. It's pretty darn sturdy despite its lightweight and size. Okay? But, it's a specialty EDC knife. It's not for everybody. It's not going to be great for all food prep. For some food prep, but not for all. So I wouldn't really recommend this as like a lightweight backpacking or camping knife. And even if I did recommend it, there's plenty of other knives I'd recommend more. Tactically, no, it's not going to be a tactical knife, even though if you look at the reverse grip, this actually might be pretty good for a knife fight if that's something that you do. I don't know. It would work in that regard, and obviously any knife, if you need it, can do it, but no, it's not a tactical knife. Okay. So, this is just going to be your lightweight EDC, maybe a gentleman's carry because it is a classy looking knife and it is very subtle with the wire pocket clip. Maybe you could use it as that. I don't know. All right. The one other talking point that I want to touch on lightly for this knife is the price. All right. It is priced at $160 to $170, which is prohibitive for a lot of people. And there are a lot of other knives in the marketplace that compare with it very favorably in terms of price that might be using higher quality materials. All right, I understand that. I talked about that a little bit when I reviewed the Lil Lum about a month ago. I think I'm going to make a video on its own just about price. Not really a rant, but just my take on how the marketplace works and how we as consumers can and maybe should be looking at it. All right, but that said, it's $160. But the real point, again, it's a niche. It's a niche knife. You probably knew the second you saw this on camera whether it was the knife for you or not. And that's really how it is. Is this a knife for you? If it is, then you'll probably end up making it happen. I'm not a wealthy guy. I'm not the richest person in the world. But, when I see something that I want, especially if it's a knife, I find a way to make it happen. What I had to do for this is I had to sell some other knives. I knew I didn't want to wait. I knew I wanted to get this knife as soon as it came out. And I had to look at my collection and say, you got to go. I need the money to buy this knife, and you're either going to have that attraction to this or you're not. It's pretty simple. So, again, I'll talk more about price in detail at some point in the future. But you know already looking at this video that you either have to have this knife or you're not even watching at this point because you're done. And that's sort of what this knife does. It is a niche. And I'm one of the people that loved it, but completely understandable if you're not. But any questions about it, any comments, complaints, suggestions, I always want to hear from you in the comments down below. Last thing I'll do before we sign off is I will bring in just a couple other size comparison knives. Excuse me, sort of nicked the mat there. So here's a Delica 4, so you can sort of see it right next to it. All right, very similar in weight, and actually the cutting edge, even though it doesn't look like it, is pretty similar, even though the blade shape is different. And then another one that is maybe a little bit similar. Here's CRKT Squid, so you can get a feel for. It's not a really small knife, but it's not a big knife, sort of right in between there. Okay, so again, thank you for watching. I appreciate your time. I will speak with you again soon. I'm sure I'll be doing a follow-up video about this knife in the future. But like I said, hit me up in the comments down below. I look forward to it, and I will be talking with you soon. Thanks again.